Hey, everybody, and welcome back to our peer virtual support group meeting, Less Like More Hearts featured monthly group meeting called Heart to Heart, where we bring experts to you to live your best quality of life in the limb loss realm and journey. They could be health and wellness experts or limb loss, amputee, prosthetic related experts. And today we have another amazing guest. I would say personal friend at this point, Elizabeth, but we have a person that's here to talk to you about a modality of training or therapy that you may not have heard about. I certainly hadn't heard about it, but the outcomes are remarkable. And she's a real pinnacle in the area. I live in Southern New Hampshire. She runs a business called Bali Holistic Wellness, and they offer all of these different modalities of health and also this really fascinating form of therapy that I want her to share with you this evening so that you can see if it's something that's of interest to you, if there's a provider that's near you, what to look for in a provider, because not all are necessarily equipped with the right skills. But without further ado, I would love to hand over today's speaking opportunity to Elizabeth Gills. Elizabeth, thank you so much for being here today.
Tina, thank you so much for inviting me, first of all, and for the opportunity. And I definitely do feel like, we're on the friendship level
Oh,
now.
good. I didn't want to overstate it in front of
Yeah,
my
no,
friends.
not overstated at all. So I'm really excited about being able to share, what I do and the passion that I have in helping people with health in a way that's harm-free and that's not going to hurt anybody. And so hopefully maybe I'll open your eyes a little bit today and you'll have some aha moments, or you'll be like, what? That's a possibility too. I'm going to start off by kind of doing like a little outline. So we're going to, talk a little bit about some of the things that are offered in my clinic. We're going to jump in. I'm going to share a little bit about my story and how I got to doing what I'm doing. We're going to talk a lot about the healthcare system that I practice. And then we're going to open it up. I'm going to give you some tips and tricks on how to shift your stress in your life from harmful to actually being helpful. And then we're going to close it off with the Q&A. So hang tight, people, because
Yeah.
this is going to be a wild ride. So let me just go into presenter view here. Tina, can you see my presentation okay? Like, is that?
I've got a couple of screens going. Anybody here with a thumbs up? Can you see it? Yeah, good. We have thumbs up.
Okay, so you see the slide that says Bali Holistic Wellness Center, right? Yes?
Yep, looks like it.
All right, very good. So the things that I want to share about my clinic first is that everything that I do in my clinic is non-invasive. And it was really important for me to offer solutions that work with the body and that were incredibly safe for people to be able to experience. So just a quick run through, one of the services that we offer is non-invasive fat reduction and weight loss. We have a touchless health spa, Raylo therapy. We have a massage bed that does soft tissue treatment to improve circulation, normalize muscle function. We have spectrum light therapy. These health spa services are available to everyone, not just people who are my healthcare clients, because a lot of times I do get that question. And I'm sure that people are, all over the United States. We're not just local to Southern New Hampshire. And I'm going to talk about now about my holistic healthcare services. So I have what's called the BioScan biofeedback device. So this is for allergy and stress reduction therapy. It helps to reduce those, inappropriate allergy responses. We can use it to check to see how the systems of the bodies are functioning and testing for supplements to improve scan outcomes. I have people come in with bags of supplements and they're like, are these any good for me? And I'll put them one-on-one on the machine and be like, nope, you're wasting your money on this one. You're wasting your money on that one. No, this one's really good for you. And then finally, what we're really here to talk about today is the BodyTalk healthcare system. So this system is very comprehensive in its approach. And it is the only therapy that I'm aware of that is very sharing, in that it will allow me to bring in any other therapies or modalities that I'm trained in into the treatment if that's what is required. As far as the BodyTalk system goes, I have all of the advanced training in this system. And that goes all the way through a level that's called Parama. And in the BodyTalk world, Parama is the PhD level in this particular system. People always ask me, about how I got into this, like what got me into it. Is this my background? Do I have a medical background? No, I actually don't have a medical background. My background is actually in poor health. And I had a lot of health challenges that led up to, but did not only include rheumatoid arthritis back in 1999. And unfortunately, or actually, I would say fortunately for me, conventional medicine didn't really help me. This diagnosis really changed my path in life. And I was at a point months away from being disabled. And taking drugs that suppressed my immune system and could cause me to go blind were the last options that I was given. That moment of bringing home that prescription from my rheumatologist, God, I remember it like it was yesterday. And I had this overwhelming feeling looking at that prescription saying, this isn't right. Like, this just doesn't feel like the right thing that I'm supposed to be doing. And isn't a poor immune system the reason why I'm sick to begin with? And then if I do this, then what am I going to get sick with later if I don't have a functioning immune system? And so that led me to a path of accountability, excuse me, for my own health for the very first time. The only thing I ever knew was going to the doctors and getting medications when something was wrong. It turned me into this research guru. I sought complementary practitioners and doctors that wanted to work with me as a team instead of just expecting me to take medications. I made a lot of lifestyle changes. I was taught by these experts and these practitioners to listen to my body. I took the right supplements. I ate the right foods. And that led not only to me being in remission from my RA in less than a year, but it also led to a whole new career in complementary and alternative health. We've got some feedback going on there.
That's me.
I learned my very first modality in 2008, which was applied kinesiology, but I felt that there was something missing. So part of learning applied kinesiology in the way that I learned was included testing people for supplements. And I just wasn't comfortable with selling people pills every 2 weeks when they came into my clinic. And I found that if I didn't recommend the pills, that people issues weren't really resolving. And they just kept coming back to me to fix the same things over and over again. And so that experience led me on a 2-year Google search. And in 2012, I discovered the BodyTalk healthcare system, or I should say that it discovered me. And this system really has been monumental in helping many, many people in ways that conventional approaches just can't. And on a personal note, I'm a wife to a wonderful man. We've been together for 30 years. We've got 3 kids, 2 young grandchildren. Yeah, and that is kind of my story on how I got into the path and doing what I'm doing now. And it's very, very rewarding. Okay, so there are a number of books that have been written about body talk. I've got one that I'm going to show you right here. It's probably backwards. There's another one that's a little bit more simple and it talks about more the foundational stuff. But if you are interested in knowing how body talk works and the science behind it, there is a scientific explanation because I think some of you, your minds are going to be blown a little bit today and not really understand. And, I'm not here to teach you how to do it, but I'm just giving you an overview of how there's different things that can help you out there. And it's, mentioned in other books. This one is Radical Remission. I actually get a lot of cancer patients because of body talk being mentioned in that book. And, it's mentioned in alternative health journals. There was a study that was done a number of years ago that was published in the Journal of Pain Management. It's practiced in 50 countries worldwide. It's all over the United States. In Australia, it's a licensed healthcare profession that is actually even covered by insurance. I'm hoping that someday we will make it there with the United States. So this is a picture with the founder, John Valtheim. Unfortunately, we lost John a couple years ago. That's a picture of me up in the upper left corner. I have to laugh because every picture that I have with John, I was fortunate enough to take 2 different classes with him of new material that he came up with. And it always ends up being at the end of class. And by that time, I'm like in my sweats, I'm in doing the messy bun. Like I could have taken some better pictures with this man, but alas, that's the way it is. So Body Talk is a blend of different approaches and perspectives. So we've got the Western medicine facts and findings, epigenetics, neuroscience, We need to know in BodyTalk the organs, the endocrines, the body parts, because we have to discover these things and know how they work. It also brings in ancient and modern healing methods. So traditional Chinese medicine, acupuncture, chiropractic, yoga and meditation philosophies, consciousness and energy psychology, and even concepts from the fields of mathematics and quantum physics. In BodyTalk, we want to look at opportunities for improving health from many different perspectives. And BodyTalk is about bridging the gap in energy work and conventional Western medicine. It provides solutions to deficits that exist in the modern healthcare model. It's really big in preventative healthcare, so we can address an imbalance in the body. Whoops. Oh, hang on just a second. I'm not that quick. We can address an imbalance in the body before it manifests into a physical symptoms. BodyTalk helps us to discover the why behind the symptoms. It helps reduce stress, and it works to set up the right conditions to allow the body to correct things on its own. My most favoriteest thing about BodyTalk is that it's harm-free. There's no pills, there's no medication, there's no diagnosing, which I will expand on a little bit later, and it does nothing invasive. So it's safe if you're 9 months old or if you're 99 years young. So I wanted to talk a little bit about, because I'm sure that many of you have gone to see practitioners, and they may have even been experts and really well educated. Maybe they even had a holistic or a natural approach, but sometimes you just don't see results. And why is that? So one of the reasons that treatments don't last or you don't see improvements is because the treatment doesn't align with what the body actually needs and wants. The body is sometimes forced to deal with a treatment that's not in alignment with its best interests. And oftentimes the symptoms that we're experiencing are masking the real nature of the issue. So when we focus on treating the symptoms, the body often can't take advantage of treatment because it doesn't know how to make sense of it. So it's like when you eat a lot of processed food, the body's going like, what is this? Like, I don't understand. I don't recognize these chemicals. Like, what am I supposed to do with it? It doesn't know how to really digest that food very well versus whole foods, that it's going to know exactly what to do with it and absorb all the nutrients from it. And I have this question for you, and this is just a question not for you to answer to me, but to answer to yourself. When was the last time a health practitioner that you saw asked your body what it wanted from them? It's kind of a radical approach. In Body Talk, we ask the body what it wants. Body Talk is healthcare. It's just that the delivery method is very non-traditional, and Tina can attest to that. Every choice, every experience that you have ever had in your lifetime has contributed to your current state of health. Your health is actually a story. Your body remembers every heartbreak, every illness, every embarrassment, etc., that you've ever experienced. What makes Body Talk unique? We ask the body health-related questions directly. We work with something called priorities. We're not looking for problems. What does the body say is the most important thing for us to focus on at this moment of all the trillions of processes that are going on in the body at any given moment? We don't diagnose. We don't need to, because we aren't looking for problems to fix. We don't diagnose because we don't have a set protocol in Body Talk on how to treat a specific symptom or issue or illness. What we're looking for is an opportunity to provide solutions that are preventing the body from working efficiently and that are contributing to the symptoms someone is experiencing. And some of you might be going, whoa, what? So if I have 10 people come into my clinic with migraines, what I do for each person and how many sessions that it's going to take to get them better is completely for each individual. Why? Because their life, their upbringing, their lifestyle, their stressors are all very unique to them. This is a healthcare that is not a one-size-fits-all approach. And BodyTalk really allows your body to be the expert in what's being done for you instead of the practitioner. So BodyTalk says the body knows best. It has answers. We just need to learn how to ask the right questions. It knows what needs to be addressed. It knows the right sequence of things and how it needs to be addressed. It knows the details or context contributing to dis-ease in the body, it knows how often and how much to treat. So we're not going to over or under treat you. The body has an incredible ability to heal itself most of the time, but there are limitations, just like with anything. Sometimes things have gone too far, and maybe surgery or medications might be the only option at that point. So BodyTalk is known as healthcare designed by your body. So, and in case I haven't made it clear, this is a very unique approach to healthcare. It's authentically holistic and it excels in prevention. So this is a copy, and I don't know if you can see behind me, but I have this chart over here. So that is the chart that is used to help navigate and ask the body questions. So our physical, chemical, and emotional health is a reflection of our own experiences. Those experiences could be classified as stress if the body is still holding an emotional charge or being triggered by these stressors. Stress comes in many different forms. It's not always those major things that we always think of when we think about stress. A divorce, a loss of a loved one, being let go of a job, like those are major stressors, but stressors come in many different forms. And even little stressors can really add up. So they can be nutritional, emotional, lack of sleep. That's a big one for a lot of people today. Toxins from our foods, from our environments, the things we breathe in, the off-gassings of things in our homes. They can be physical because you injured yourself, or you're recovering from surgery, relationships, the Wi-Fi signals that are going on, even the annoying neighbor's barking dog. Our body, as I mentioned, has the ability to self-heal and self-regulate, but unfortunately, we have a tendency to kind of stuff that stuff down. And we dampen our senses so that our experiences in life feel safe. But that stuff kind of builds up behind the surface. Things get in the way of the body's ability to heal itself, and they compromise the body's ability to do so. So the question that we have to figure out, what's stopping it? What's getting in the way of the body to be able to fix things on its own? Well, stress, here we go. Stress is a big one. We know stress is bad for us, but do we really know why? The long-term triggering of the stress response puts us at a much higher risk for many health problems. Stress causes too much cortisol and stress hormones to be produced, and these disrupt almost every single one of the body's processes. I invite you to look at the picture of the pothole or the potholes. This road is ridden with potholes. And imagine that this is your road that you have to drive on to get to and from work every single day. Now, 10 years ago, this might have been a beautifully well-paved road without potholes, but here it is today, riddled with potholes. And it's like every pothole in this road is a stressor that is damaging to your car. You, driving on this road, are forced to go slower on this road. And if you go slower, it's going to take you much longer to get to your destination. The longer it takes to get to your destination, the less free time you have in your day to get other things done. Our bodies aren't really any different. Every stress, every trauma, every unprocessed emotion, every sleepless night, injury, or bad food choice is like a brand new pothole that develops on your body's road to healing. So stress is important to address. Why? Stress, no sugarcoating it, is a prison for healing. It steals our resources for efficiency and good internal communication between all the different parts of the body, the communication between the cells, the organs, the body parts, the body systems. And again, stress isn't always those major things like people tend to think of. If your body is in constant reaction to stress, it cannot fix things. You cannot react to a stressor and fix things at the same time. Most of our healing and rejuvenation happens when we sleep. About 75% of it actually occurs while we're sleeping. And even sleep and sleep quality is evasive for a lot of people. In this day and age, we really don't take the time to rest and rejuvenate on the levels that we should. We think that we're scrolling on our phone and that's resting. We think that we're watching a exciting thriller on TV and that's resting. It's really not. Gone are the days of sitting on your porch on a Sunday, drinking sweet tea and just watching the neighbors walk by. So I mentioned earlier how Body Talk looks at health from many different perspectives. And I want to give you some examples of this. So something called body psychology is a really big part of the Body Talk system. So I want to explore a little body psychology and how it considers the interplay between emotional and physical health. So this is the lungs speaking. So I am the lungs. My job is to help you breathe, thus performing one of the most vital functions of life. I exchange oxygen and carbon dioxide in the blood. This is essential for the generation of energy in the cell, which is why your vitality is dependent on me. The lungs also have to say, I play an important role in your ability to release attachments to the past. When you hold on to things in your life, such as painful memories, limiting identities, your breathing remains shallow and you will feel suffocated in life and unable to grow. I want to know how many of you just checked in on your breathing. In Chinese medicine, they say that people who have like chronic respiratory illnesses, say they get bronchitis all the time. They say that that is unshed tears in the lungs. And if you're not able to release and let go of that grief, or the grief that's in your lungs is unproductive, then it's going to compromise the function of the lungs. Just an interesting perspective there. Now I'm going to look at the large intestines. So I am the large intestines. I do more than eliminate waste as a result of the digestion of food. I eliminate impure thoughts and emotions as a result of your life experiences. I generate grief to help you let go and move on. When I am functioning properly, I allow for the ability to release the past and clearly enter each day with an open mind. The desire to be in control of every situation leads to the inability to surrender yesterday's emotions, which is called constipation. I'm going to share an example with a client that I had. So this was a young woman. She was in her mid-20s, and she did suffer from chronic constipation since she was a toddler. She was going to the bathroom maybe 2, at best 3 times a week, and it was very difficult. It was not an enjoyable experience. And I believe it was her second appointment. Part of her treatment that came up is something to do with her grandfather. And the context, I don't remember the whole thing, but what I remember is that it came up that there was something about her grandfather that then was influencing her own large intestines and colons and being able to eliminate properly, was the fact that he was some sort of military leader. And there was this incredible need to control. And if he didn't control the troops or the regiment or whatever you want to call it in the military, I'm not sure what that's called, that people could potentially die. And I asked her, I'm like, do you know anything about your great-grandfather, whether he was in the military? She had no idea. So the next time she came in, she told me that she had asked her mother about it. And her mother confirmed that her great-grandfather was indeed a commander in the military in Europe that had significant responsibility. So she also reported that she had been able to go to the bathroom daily and that her bowel movements were very easy without any strain. So body psychology, baby, is a very, very important part. Your body can talk. We see this all the time. Pain, right? I mentioned earlier that symptoms often mask the real issue. The symptom is not the problem. It's not that it's a pleasant experience to have, but a symptom is just an indication that a problem exists. Our bodies have a limited means of how to communicate with us, and pain is definitely one that gets our attention and gets it fast. So I want to share, these are some little highlights of some of the things that came up with a client. So this was a 42-year-old female with numerous chronic health conditions. She had been going to doctors for years, more and more medications, and she wasn't seeing any improvements. In fact, she felt that she was actually going downhill. And health issues are rarely just one thing. It's usually an accumulation of many different factors over a period of time. Eventually, if you look at all of these little circles, eventually this adds on, and then this gets added on, and this gets added on, and then eventually the body says, I'm done. I'm fed up. And it gives you very clear indications that something is off. And that's when it's your cue to go and try and figure out what that is. But it's not always that easy. So this woman, some of the things that came up, we had to address her body energies. We had to address her meridians in Chinese medicine, if any of you are familiar with hearing about that. We had to address environmental factors, fears that she was going through. There was a lot of emotions that we had to help her process. She had unexpectedly lost her sibling. We had to make sure that her cells were properly hydrated. And after 5 body talk sessions, her acid reflux was no longer an issue. She had stomach and intestinal pain, and it went from being painful to just her feeling pressure. Her heartburn was no longer an issue. Her chest pain was no longer an issue. Her ringing in the ears had some improvement. It was less frequent. She had leg weakness and arm weakness. She reported a 50% improvement. She had left shoulder pain, leg pain, knee pain, and those were no longer an issue. She had significant foot pain. It was relieved enough that she could start walking several miles at a time, and she had nerve pain due to nerve damage that had completely resolved, which was one of her major complaints. I continued to work with this woman for another 2 years, and then she would pop in, a few times a year to get treatments when something was overwhelming or, she felt that things were coming in. But today I am happy to report that she is off all of her medications. And she's actually even training in her native country in a modality that is very similar to what we do here with Body Talk. Very exciting for her. And I want to share another one. So this one is actually a fun one for me to share with, because this was a client that was just not believing anything that was coming up. So his primary complaint was low back pain. It started when he retired 3 years earlier. And he was doing a lot of PT because it was enough to help him keep playing golf. But it was a struggle to swing the golf clubs. And his goal was to be able to golf pain-free. So he demonstrated his golf swing for me. And when he would swing his swing, you could hear him catch his breath. It was almost like the wind was being knocked out of him when he got to a certain point. And so this is the actual clinical notes that I have from his session that came up. So it's not really going to make a lot of sense to you guys. It really only makes sense to me, but I'll give you the overall vibe of what was going on in his session. So we addressed something called permissions. We had to address function of the liver from both a Western and an Eastern perspective. We had to stimulate an acupuncture point. We went into the 5 elements of Chinese medicine and did some work there. We had to address a fear that he had of time running out. There was a lot of stuff around responsibility versus being able to enjoy pleasurable activities. We had to go into the nervous system and address the brain's contentment pathway. We had to work on some shoulder chakras that worked with responsibilities. We had some fears around being judged by others. The underlying theme of his session was his body was strongly programmed for work, not play. It's almost like his body viewed play as bad, wrong, unacceptable, and absolutely something that he needed to stay away from. We never directly addressed his back in this treatment. The funny thing is when he got off the table, he said, I'm sorry. He goes, but nothing in this session resonates with me. I said, that's okay. And he said, I am living my best life. He goes, I retired early. I have no financial worries. I have no relationship stress. I have a home overlooking the ocean. I play golf 85 times a year. I am living the life of my dreams. So just for the heck of it, I said, I go, why don't you demonstrate that golf swing for me? Guess what? As he's going like this, he's like, what? He's like, are you kidding me? How is this even possible? And I looked at him and I said, that's why I talk to your body and not to you. So, yeah. So, in a nutshell, body talk, rather than focusing on symptoms, we are finding the hidden causes of illness, discomfort by looking at the physical, emotional, and environmental factors that are contributing to those symptoms. The practitioner, as a body talk practitioner, my job is to gather permanent information from the intelligence of the body mind. The body is really intelligent. It knows so much information. It's not always easy to access that information. So you have to learn how to do that. When we sleep and we have an injury, the body just goes in. We're not sitting there going, okay, you need to do this on that injury today. You need to do that. And don't forget at 3 a.m. that you need to take care of that. We're out of the picture. The body just knows what to do. And so when we gather that information in body talk, then the information is shared with the brain. This brain just runs programs. And we give this information to the brain. It's like a homework assignment or a to-do list so that it can make the changes that are required. All right. So now I'm going to shift in to ways to help you guys to shift your stress from harmful to helpful. So hopefully I have been able to demonstrate how various forms of stress, both ones that you are aware of, and ones that you are not aware of, are impacting your health and how your body is able to function. So now let's shift gears and show you how in this crazy world, if you can't avoid stress, which most of us can't, there are things that you can do to help manage how stress impacts your health. So threat stress is harmful. And the problem in this day and age is that every stress is seen by our bodies and our brains as a threat. This threat stress is harmful. It's going to ravage your body. It's going to amp up your inflammation. It's going to accelerate aging. Fun. But there is an antidote to threat stress. So that antidote is relaxation. So you can go and you can do things like meditation, yoga. You can experience the sights and the sounds of nature. Even a recording of nature sounds will work just as well. Thinking about nature, things in nature will also work. The brain can't distinguish between something that is imagined and something that is real and in front of you. The concept of relaxation is great. Wouldn't we all like to be able to do that just a little bit more than we currently are? I know I would. So what do you do in those moments of high persistent stress? I will tell you what you need to do. You need to change your mindset. Your mindset towards stress is huge. The mind is a powerful thing. And stress mindset really matters. So if you believe that stress is debilitating for your health, it is, and it will be. If you believe that stress enhances your health, it does, and it will. So just know that shifting to a healthy stress challenge mindset is an option. And they did some studies, and amazingly, people who were told that they have stress and see it as a challenge experience more oxygen going to their brain. It makes them more prepared for the challenges that they're going to be facing. And it turns out that there were no negative health impacts from the stress on their bodies, just from shifting their mindset to seeing stress as a challenge. So when you are faced with a stressful situation, I would like you to think about taking these steps. First, I want you to pause for a moment and take some nice, slow, deep breaths. You want to breathe in through the nose. So if you breathe in through the mouth, that's stress breathing. So we definitely want to focus on breathing in through the nose. You want to do those full inhales and exhales. With every breath that we take, when it's a full breath, it allows the brain to do a scan of what's going on in the body and make adjustments. The other thing that it does is with the movement of the diaphragm, with the lungs going up and down, it massages the organs and a lot of the endocrines, getting them to work a little bit better. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to ask yourself, am I going to die in the next 10 minutes or experience significant harm? 99% of the time, the answer to that question will be no. I want you to literally ask yourself this question when you're in those moments. And this is your opportunity to change your mindset. So don't say, I can't do this. Instead, go with, this is hard, but I'm going to get through this. Imagine getting past that obstacle. Even visualizing success with something that seems impossible, do that for 5 seconds. So imagine getting through whatever challenge you're in for 5 seconds. It really makes a difference. And remember, this visualization, remember that the brain reacts the same if something is real or imagined. It cannot distinguish between the two. So shifting your stress, take the antidote whenever possible. Go on vacation, lay on the beach, go walk through the woods, do some meditation, do some yoga. Listen to some of those nature sounds. Visualize something in nature in your mind if you can't get there. Breathe in through your nose, take those nice, slow, deep breaths, and ask yourself, am I going to die in the next 10 minutes or experience significant harm? Nope, you're not. Go with, this is hard, but I'm going to get through this. And see it as a challenge, not as a threat. Imagine getting past that obstacle for just 5 minutes or 5 seconds, even if it seems impossible. So there's a significant difference on how your body responds to threat stress versus challenge stress. Like if you were to fall off a building, man, that's scary, right? But if you were to do that same plummet on a roller coaster that you loved, you'd be like, yeah, this is so exciting, right? And your body reacts differently. So we want more of that, yeah, in your life to help prevent the body from being ravaged by threat stress. And I kind of blew through this presentation a lot faster than I thought I was going to. And so I'm going to open it up now for any questions that anybody might have. Tina, do you have any questions? Any of the people who are here, anybody have any questions?
Yeah, I just wanted to first say, as a testimony, so for everyone that's here and also the people that might be watching this back, you guys know that I'm Western medicine trained. That degree right there is a degree in physician associate studies. Never in Western medical studies, and I practiced medicine for more than a decade, were we working with the emotional, physical, and environmental climates of a person. We work on their physical climate, and psych would manage just their psychiatric climate. But what really compels me, and the reason that I wanted to share this offering in terms of modalities of treatment, is that we are not just medical. Our the spheres of our life are dramatically, impressed upon by our environmental, our social, our internal, our emotional, what's happened to us before. And in my journey, in the last 8 years of being disabled, it's taken me years to come away from the stigma that I feel, unfortunately, Western still casts in the direction of any type of Eastern therapies. But we're the sickest place to be, and there's a reason for that. And the healthcare system is in place for great reasons. And if any of my clinical friends are watching this back, I'm certainly not casting shade, but I would encourage that if people are not getting what they need to get in terms of their health, where they are, then it's important for you to advocate for yourself to find other options as off the path as sometimes they may feel initially. Like, to be frank, Elizabeth, and I talked to you initially about this, like, if I were earlier in my journey, I would be so engrossed in believing in white coats that I was seeing through the medical system, which was being paid for by my insurance, that the out-of-pocket expenses of alternative therapies would be something that they wouldn't even encourage necessarily, even though there's no risk to it, right? And also that it's not funded. And Less Leg More Heart is in place to ensure that everybody has full access to whatever therapies might aid them, whether it's extra PT sessions, acupuncture, chiropractic, or something like this that truly is an integrative practice. And I'll share with you a quick testimony. I have ongoing shoulder pain. I have a residual injury. I was having a flare of it because I have a 40-pound kettlebell bag of potatoes for a son. He's so cute. Check out my Instagram. Shameless plug for my baby. But he he tweaked my shoulder, and then you can't do life. And so even putting on my liner in my leg was a challenge, and I couldn't lift it up forever. And you just get used to the fact that, like, how many people here, by a show of hands, something happens, you go to the doctors, you can't get it figured out, or you're told you're kind of crazy, or they want to give you shots or other pain meds, and you're just like, I'm just going to suck it up and deal with it. Anybody here just dealing with something because that was the best option? Okay, right. So but maybe it's not. And so who here, by a show of hands, has heard about Body Talk? Right. Very few, if nobody. And I just found it, and I'm like a wellness savant looking for stuff. So I'm really excited that more people will learn about it. I went into the clinic. She showed me all of her the machines and all the different offerings, and then she did a session on me where she tested my body on a machine to tell me what sort of things like don't react well with me in my environment. And it ran, how many things was it, Elizabeth?
I believe it was 147 different items. We scanned the 100 different systems of the body, and then we looked at some biofeedback stress factors. So foods and sensitivities and, delayed reactions to chemicals and molds and stuff like that. Yeah.
And she just hooks you up to kind of like what looks like a mini EKG machine, right? So I'm sitting there going, I mean, how much accuracy is there, right? But then it prints out, and you're like, there's so much alignment with my life. So then, I'm starting to buy in, and, I go over to the table because, right, we're all skeptics in the Western system. And I lay on her table and I'm telling her about my shoulder. And she starts literally asking my body different questions and going through different systems of the body. And all, minutes later, she's moving things around and doing very gentle adjustment to, like, just tapping in certain areas. And I mean, I don't even understand all of it, right? But what gets me is that I am a heavy skeptic, but that was the first time that I was able to lift my arm in probably 3 months. Can't tell you, it's not like she did any major, like what we would see in a clinic as a major intervention. Sure, she did a lot of intervention. It was just beyond my knowledge, but I still have significantly less, if almost none on most days, shoulder pain. And this is something that has had to be steroid injected, that they wanted to line me up for shoulder cuff surgery for. And not that everybody's going to have the same response, but as soon as that happened for me, I'm like, you know what? Some people may not want to go this route. It may not be part of their life, or they may not have a practitioner nearby. But for the hopefully majority of you that have somebody near you that you can look into, invest in your health. It's a nominal fee to pay, unless like we'll pay it if you're an amputee, to try to solve some problems in your body so that good enough is not what you have to always live with. So I just wanted to share my personal feedback. That was such a great presentation, Elizabeth. I mean,
Oh,
just
thank you so much.
really cool. I wanted to read some of the comments in the chat. So I was asking some folks while you were chatting, what their current stressors are, just to give sort of a landscape of kind of what folks are dealing with. And we had some people that were talking about, work stressors. There's some financial stressors. There's like overwhelm, chronic pain, complex PTSD, despite, working with therapists and DBT, weekly, and a great primary care team, and then, loss of a significant other, and recurrent surgeries, and, just this whack-a-mole life of like, from this doctor to this doctor to this hospital, that it's their washing machine of the medical system. In all those folks, I guess the major underlying question is kind of what's missing, right? Or like, why, what can they do? And I think I know the answer, right? Like finding a body talk practitioner. But, if you were talking to them as your friend and clinician, and the landscape is this way with all these different problems, how would you approach that with folks?
Well, so, a lot of our stress is based on our own filters of our own experiences. So, and what's a really good example of this, right? Because it's not actually the thing, it's how we react to that thing. And what is going on that actually triggers us to actually have that stress reaction. And sometimes we are aware and we're like, oh my God, I'm so stressed. But sometimes there's a stress reaction that's going on in your body that you're not aware of, right? And you see this in siblings, right? You know, me and my two brothers, we were in the same situation. I'm like, oh my God, like I couldn't sleep for a week. Like, and one of my brothers like, I don't even remember that. Like, why does that bother you so much? Or why did it impact? Like, I don't even remember that situation happening. And then my other brother's like, yeah, I remember that. Yeah. So what? What, big deal. So there's things that are going on and there's programs that are running that are below the surface. So what I want to say is that we are only aware of about 95% of what's going on with us. Or we aren't, excuse me, we're only aware of about 5% of what's going on with us. The other 95% is things that we aren't consciously aware of, right? So I'm going to share an example. I just had a client recently, right? And lots and lots of anxiety, so much anxiety that she was just like, I need help. Like, I don't even know where to go. I'm like, you're in the right place. We're gonna filter all this stuff out. And something came up for an emotional trauma. This is the way it came up. And I don't remember her whole treatment, but I remember very significant parts of it. And something that came up and it identified that there was an emotional trauma that she dealt with. It had to do with her brother, and it was the age of 6. That was what her body was giving me for information. It was enough for the brain to know, I know what you're talking about. And she said, can I share with you what that's all about? And I said, sure. So she said that when she was 6 years old, her brother decided that he was going to make a bomb. And he started taking all these chemicals in the house and he started mixing them together. And he's like, she was up at the top of the stairs. She's like, I'm going to go to the bathroom. I'm going to pour all this stuff in the toilet. I'm going to blow the house up and we're all going to die. So that has always stayed with her. This is my impression from working with her. This is always in your body. So every time you hear the toilet flush, every time you see chemicals getting mixed, every time you hear somebody flushing a toilet, every time you go to the bathroom, I'm like, what might be happening to your body underneath the surface? It is going through this major stress response because there's still an emotional charge that's associated with that experience that you had at 6 years of age. And we all know the right things that we should be doing, right? We know the right way to eat. We know we should be exercising. We know we should be doing this, but why don't we do those things? Because there's something that's driving the bus and making us do certain things, even when we know better, that we just can't override. So in BodyTalk, we're finding out what those things are. What are those things that are contributing from you getting so triggered by that stuff? We call that an active memory, which means that whenever, there's a difference between a passive memory and an active memory. So if you were in a car accident, say, for example, at a particular intersection, every time you go up to that intersection, you feel a little nervous, you get a little sweaty, you feel a little anxious, right? That's an active memory versus you going there and be like, yeah, like 10 years ago, I was in a car accident, but like for your body, it doesn't feel any different from saying, I just came home from the grocery store, right? So we have all of these emotional charges that bring up a stress response in our body to significant things. And some of it's, genetic disposition, things that our ancestors went through. If your grandmother survived famine, then her DNA is programmed so that maybe it's going to skip a generation, but the grandchild is going to maybe have a lower metabolism, and they're going to be have a higher tendency to gain weight because the program there is to change the epigenetics and change the DNA to be resistant and to prevent starvation from happening, right? And that's scarcity. So there's just different things that happen, and we can get good things from our parents and we can get not so good things from our parents. And again, it's experiences that we've had. And is it sticking with you? Is it still in your system? Is it still running a program? Is your mind and your brain like running something that is outdated? And, as a BodyTalk practitioner, my job is to say, hey, out of everything that's going on, And there's a lot of different things that are going on. And we don't try and identify. We're not like, hey, hand, do you have an issue? Foot, do you have an issue? If you ask any part of the body, do you have something that's an issue that you want me to look at? They'd probably say yes. So instead, we're looking at priorities. Out of everything that's going on, what is the most important thing for us to address for you? Because that's going to have a chain reaction. Because if we can neutralize a stress, then it frees up resources in the body. You now have more resources for the body to fix itself because it's not reacting as often. So does that make sense? Does that kind of answer your question? I kind of
It does. No, it does. I think it all has to do with, your mind follows in the direction of your strongest thoughts, but the concept is that you're not always aware of what those thoughts may be, right? So,
right. Mhm.
anyway, I found your session so compelling, and I'm so excited to come back to your clinic. I would like to open it up. We only have a few more minutes left. I'll be linking her website, and I'll also be linking some other resources and more information about Body Talk so that you guys can see it back on our social media and, of course, our YouTube, where the playback of this will live if you want to share it with anybody. But who else has questions, comments, anything at all that you'd like to say or ask Miss Gillis before we close out today? Go ahead and just unmute and shoot. Hey, that was fun. Nice and rhymed. Unmute and shoot. I'm going to use that again.
Mm.
Yeah, go ahead, Ron. Go ahead and unmute.
Okay, so you can hear me all right?
Yeah.
So my name is Ron Murray, and it's been 2 years since my double amp. And so I'm at that point right now where I'm looking for alternative therapy. So I'm fortunate to have excellent insurance. So I've looked into like massages, acupuncture. I've done the ketamine treatment. So I am open to all types of therapies. So I appreciate your presentation. And now, is that a book, Body Talk? I guess
Yes.
yes. Okay, so I will check that
So
out.
you can buy them right on Amazon. There's books available on Amazon. There's
Okay.
another one, the Body Talk System, that's a little bit more simple maybe to understand than the science and philosophy of Body Talk. It's kind of the science and philosophy of Body Talk is more of the advanced materials, and it's going into parama and it's going into the scientific explanation. It can be a little bit more of a challenging read. The Body Talk System one. I think that those are still available on Amazon. I used to have one in my clinic. I think it grew legs and somehow walked off.
Hey, we're over
But
here losing them, so it's nice that things are growing them.
but it gives a really nice explanation about, why hydration is important, why active memories is an issue, and some of the more foundational principles and techniques in Body Talk. And so that's a really great book. There's lots of stuff online. There's, you can go to YouTube, you can watch some of John Valtheim's. The quality wasn't very good back then when he was doing some of these, but it'll give you a lot of background. And his medical background was very, very extensive. He was a trained naturopath, chiropractor, acupuncturist. He was trained in sports medicine. He had a significant background in martial arts and applied kinesiology. I mean, like the guy really had an extensive repertoire of medical experience and also alternative experiences that he used to build this system.
Well, you do too. I love all the acronyms after your name, so very impressive.
I
So
just
thanks
make it
again.
not a big deal.
Anybody else? Questions or comments at all for Miss Gillis?
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, please.
Yeah, my name is Bruce Greenland. I'm an below the knee amputee from about 11 years ago. My other leg has polyneuropathy in it from a
Okay.
I lost a leg from twice having sepsis, and the polyneuropathy is causing continued balance issues
Mhm.
that they've been treating with IVIGs for about 5 years now, and it doesn't and it's slowly progressing.
Okay.
So I've been looking for an alternative to that now.
So I can tell you that I have helped people both with neuropathy, different reasons for neuropathy. Sometimes they're from cancer um, and different reasons. So what I will say is that, we can't always guarantee that we're going to help everybody with everything. And, you know, there's no one practitioner, and sometimes it takes a village of seeing lots of different people with their particular specialties. Now, I will give you an example of a woman that I worked with that she had a falling disorder. It was, she was diagnosed with a form of ataxia, and she had gone 5 years and she was falling like 8 to 12 times a day. And she couldn't get around her house without a walker. And I will say also, for all of you who are interested in finding a BodyTalk practitioner, if you do not have one in your area, virtually every single practitioner does work remotely. We can do this work over Zoom. I know it's kind of crazy, but it can be done, and very successfully. So this woman, so she had been seeing, you know, occupational therapist, neurologist after neurologist, and eventually they said, you just have to live with it. So her sister actually bought a treatment with me, and she saw improvements after the first one where her legs would buckle in pain when she was trying to put her pants on. And so that resolved after the first one. After 4 appointments, she's still wobbly. Her sister reports that she's wobbly, but in a year and a half, she hasn't had a single fall. And she can walk around her house without her walker, and she can stand at the stove and cook simple meals. Now, whether that would be your experience or not, we don't know, because we don't know how many layers we have to go through in order to resolve the issue for you. If things have gotten so severe that we can't do anything about that particular issue, but there's always some way that we can support the body so that it works better, right? We want to free up those healing resources so that the body has more battery life to do the job that it needs to do. So we're paving some of those potholes from that.
Yeah.
Well, it's so cool. And what I really am excited to share is that Bruce is actually local, and I'm really excited to hook the two of you guys up. Bruce, your consult and everything is on us. And Christina has already mentioned interest in the remote option, and we'd be happy to get that taken care of for you too. And if anybody else on this call is interested in connecting either in person or virtually with Elizabeth, the only inclusion criteria is that you don't have a limb, so you're already approved. So just let me know offline.
Tina, I have a quick question. So I can share a technique, which I would have loved to have taught everybody here, but I need a much longer time to kind of get into the history and the background of it. But I do have a video that I can share with all of you, and it's a brain balancing technique. And virtually everything that's going on in the body is reflected in the brain on some level. So if you can learn and work with balancing your brain and getting your brain to work better within itself and communicate within itself better, then it can get instructions and those programs running faster to the rest of the body. Now, if you were in person, I could do like a balance and stability test. Tina, did we do that with you? Did we do a balance and stability test and do a brain balance?
You did the kitchen sink. I imagine you must have. I was there all day.
Yeah. And it will immediately improve balance and stability. There are stories of people, occupational therapists and clinicians, of people waking up from comas from doing this technique. It's very simple. It's very quick. It's going to be weird the first couple of times that you do it, but once you do it a few times, then you're going to be a master, and you can do it anytime, anywhere. All you need is your hands.
Well, thank you so much for being here. You guys, you could have spent your evening deep in Netflix with a bag of popcorn, but instead you're here, you're improving your health, you're showing up for your peers, and that makes my heart just jump through my chest. So anybody interested in BodyTalk, I'll link all the resources. Make sure that you guys reach out to me if you need some financial assistance with it. And I hope to see you guys same time, same bat channel next month. Until then, best foot forward. Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.